Right. Hello. I'm just going to take a minute and take a look. It's good to see you all. And it's also pretty good to be seen. Tonight, I'm going to share with you a lot of, I could say, a lot of questions I've been having. In our practice, we value what we call not knowing. And this not knowing is not that we don't know anything, but that we're not really expecting things. We're trying to see things fully and clearly as they are. And that leads me to think about what it is that we're doing. What are we doing here? What are we doing here right now? What are we doing here maybe in a kind of a bigger sense sometimes? And what is Buddhism, and what does Buddhism bring that kind of calls us together in this way? And I've thought of my own answers. And some of my answers are more questions, which is probably a good thing. So what I'd like to share with you are some of the things that I've been thinking, and then some of the answers that I've come up with, or even some of more questions. And afterwards, during the discussion, if you have answers of your own that you found, I'm going to kind of get into here why it would be important to share those, and to that the sharing helps others and helps me learn what it's like to be together with this life. So I think, what is Buddhism? There's a lot of historical and technical ways that we can explain what Buddhism is, and maybe even what Zen is, kind of in particular. But in a nutshell, Buddhism is about, what is it about? It's about ending suffering, ending this sense that we lack something, or this sense of ending that we have. The Sanskrit word for that is dukkha. And dukkha doesn't necessarily directly translate into suffering. And because when we say suffering, we think of things like physical pain or emotional pain, kind of the afflictive emotions. And suffering itself can be much more subtle than that. And it's a sense that something isn't quite right. It's an unease. The word dukkha itself is like the off center of a ox cart wheel when it kind of goes around, and it's not quite on center, and it's kind of wobbly, and when you ride it, you kind of feel like something's not right here. And this dukkha is what motivates us kind of on a very deep level to sometimes for good things like taking care of ourselves, but sometimes for bad things, because when we take care of ourselves, sometimes we put other people down. So what brings us to Buddhism are these ideas of ending suffering for ourselves, for others. And we learn in this practice that when we do it for ourselves and we actually end suffering for ourselves, we're ending suffering for all beings. And so what are we doing kind of that does that? And I think one of the answers that I've thought of is embodying what I like to think of as embodying the triple treasures. The triple treasures are Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha. Buddha can be the actual historical Buddha, the one that was enlightened, the one that we kind of take our cues from. Cool guy, great ideas, let's do what he's doing. Buddha can also be thought of as all things. Buddha nature, the Buddha that lives within ourselves. Dharma is the teaching of the Buddha. The Dharma can be all the things that populate the world, because all things can also be our teacher. And the Sangha is the group of practitioners. Technically, early on, there were the group of monks and nuns. And as we realize this way of being, this path of interconnectedness, we also realize that the Sangha is all things as well. And we're never without Sangha. So the embodiment of these triple treasures, I think, so the embodiment of Buddha to me would be Zazen. To embody the actual person that was Buddha and do what he did, we sit. We learn to be with quietness. We learn to realize the space that's in between things, in between our thoughts, in between what we perceive as us and our surroundings. We learn to let go of these internal struggles and accept both internally and externally all the things that are going on. It's a very radical acceptance. Zazen is the embodiment of enlightened action. Sitting quietly, doing what appears to be nothing, trying to achieve nothing. Not nothing in the emptiness way that we tend to talk about, but really just letting go and just being here in the moment is embodying enlightened action. And I think of it sometimes as a training. It's a place where we do things that are very difficult so that when I'm out in traffic or at work or dealing with my kids, I can remember that I'm connected with them. I can remember because I've done it when things were really easy on the cushion. And it's not always easy, but sitting quietly can be argued is easier than trying to run through a maze of traffic. And sitting quietly, we learn that we touch a kind of wisdom that the body has. And I'm still, it's something that I'm figuring out. It's something that I am working with, and I've been working with a lot, is that the body has a wisdom somewhere interiorly. And it holds everything. It holds a vast wordlessness. This wisdom isn't this knowledge, it's the non-thinking. So Zazen is the embodiment of the Buddha. So what's the embodiment of the Dharma? One could say that the Dharma talk is kind of the embodiment of the Dharma. Depends, right? And what is the Dharma talk? If it was just a lesson in Buddhism, we could take a course. We could read a book. We could try to learn something in any other way. And yet we're here for something. But what we normally don't get is we normally don't get answers to some things. We normally don't get instructions of how to live our life. And I mean that in a way that I can't really tell you what to do in a certain situation. Of course, Buddhism and Zen in particular has a nice long list of lists where we have the Four Noble Truths and the Eightfold Path. And the Eightfold Path is a decent instruction on morality or ethics. But if I just got up here and lectured on that, I don't think that would be adequate to express what it is that's in my life that may or may not be helpful to you. So we also have Sangha, and Sangha is, being together. I mean, we're all together right now. We might be in our separate homes in different ways, separate states, some of us. It's a really cool thing that we can do this and be together. But what is it that we're doing here, being together? Part of it is support. Support for our practice, support that there are others of like mind, others that want to awaken, that we can encourage each other in our practice and what we're doing. I was talking with my mentor the other day, and we were talking about Sangha, and he said it was like potatoes. And I was quiet because I was hoping he would explain that a little bit. And he said, when you pick potatoes out of the ground and you just have one potato and you can knock the dirt off it, you can clean it off pretty easily. But if you have a lot of potatoes, you put them in a a pot or a sink and you fill it with water. And then you can just take your hand and move it around. And you don't have to clean every single potato. The potatoes rub up against each other and they knock the dirt off each other. And that's kind of what we're doing in Sangha. We are learning from each other. We're informing each other. I'm seeing how you react to Dharma. You're seeing how I react to Dharma. We're seeing different reactions from all perspectives. And this is an important thing to learn in our bodies. About perspective. So we're knocking the dirt off each other and we're helping each other out. Being together is a really basic human need. And I think we all feel that to some extent very more sharply because of our COVID isolation. And some of us who thought that we were introverts have found out that we are not, and that we are extroverts and we would like to be with people some more. That's a revelation of COVID for me, huh? It's hard to learn without each other. We can get in touch with this vast wisdom in here. But what does that mean without action in the world? What does that mean without being together and helping somebody else out? So what are we doing here? Are we here to follow a teacher, to find a guru that is going to give us the answers, figure stuff out for us, make us feel better? Are we here to worship or be worshiped? Are we here to find enlightenment? I don't know if any of these questions and answers of yes or no are good or bad in and of themselves. I think in a lot of ways, the experiences that we have are very complex and multiple motivations come up, and it's okay. But it is good to clarify intentions. It is good to remember what it is that we're doing so that we don't get caught up in things like robes and the things that I'm caught up in, bells and ritual. These things are very beautiful and they're very helpful. But if I'm caught up in them and think that this is what the practice is, I've kind of gone off to the side and missed the point. I need to come back and remember what it is that we're doing here. We are aligning ourselves to the path. We are striving to end suffering for ourselves and for all beings. It's a noble goal, and it is not necessarily selfless. and that's okay too. This suffers too. And we need to go through this with others. Learn to be kind to ourselves and kind to others. I have a lot more questions, uh, but I think I'm going to keep some of them for another time. And I'm going to keep asking them, and I'm going to keep poking at things and investigating things and see what pops up. Listen to the wordless wisdom in my body about what it is that piques my interest, what it is that pushes me away, what I avoid, what I cling to. All this is important to inform me of my actions in the world, my motivations, why I'm doing things, so I can remember what I am doing. So thank you for your attention. It would be great if we could